Another story here, which I know will grab your interest as well. The UK could be sued over its contribution to climate change after a court ruling that countries are responsible for their emissions. Don't get too bothered, though. This is the International Court of Justice said nations must comply with climate treaties, and failing to do so breaches international law. Well, what are they going to do? Jail the government? While the ruling isn't legally binding, it's expected to influence laws worldwide and could open the floodgates to lawsuits against countries like the UK. That's going to be where it gets tricky. Ben Pyle, writer and co-founder of Climate Debate UK, is with us. Always helps us out on these kind of stories. Not legally binding, but could be a pain in the backside. Ben, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ian. Yeah, I think that it's a symbolic act.
Yeah.
And what we know is, the kind of international community, as they like to call themselves, is all about symbols and sending messages and sort of essentially writing letters to Santa Claus about the world they want to create. Certainly, they would love nothing more than for there to be a world court which could instruct governments.
Yeah.
And this has been a long time in the making. Global NGOs and very wealthy philanthropists who are really quite hooked on this idea have pumped hundreds and perhaps billions of dollars into lobbying governments and intergovernmental agencies like the United Nations and the European Union to try and get this to turn this into a fact of international politics and international environmental politics, especially. So they really want there to be a court, and they really want it to have teeth, and they want that power also at the national level. And the reason they want it is because the democratic argument has been lost. They haven't won the support of electorates pretty much anywhere in the world, minus one or two places. People aren't voting for it. And of course, if a government such as the UK said tomorrow we're going to ban cars because of climate change and all the rest of it, I don't need to spell it all out, then they would be voted out, which they're probably going to be anyway at the first opportunity the electorate has given them. So the reason to try and sort of to create this kind of legal structure, this ambition for using the law in this way, which we've seen in many areas, not just in climate, is because those centres of power are pretty much weakening, and so they need to find a way around democracy, and putting democracy underneath a court is of course the right answer. Well, not the right answer, is their solution. So there was a very interesting precedent for this case, if I may go on, and that last year the European Court of Human Rights found that Switzerland had breached the human rights of a group of older women. And it said that they had breached, I think, their right to a private and family life. And that is because these women, according to these women's legal complaint, which they take into the Swiss courts and then they take into the European Court of Human Rights, some of them felt that they couldn't really walk to the supermarket or the swimming pool when there was a heat wave. Right.
So they were blaming climate change on this.
Yeah, I mean, when you hear about the court case, you think there's probably people have died, people have drowned, people have have been all the polar bears or something, but no, these were people who just felt a little bit uncomfortable in the summer months.
Because it was, I mean, these are professional nut jobs, right? I mean, that's kind of that they agitate in their spare time and sometimes in their full time.
No, that's right. And the court case, the case was actually paid for by Greenpeace, and it was Greenpeace's lawyers from green billionaire philanthropists taking this to the European Court. Now, what I find the most interesting thing about this case was Swiss democracy is probably what everyone who's listening to us now in the UK really wants. It's a direct form of democracy, and if there's a contentious issue that the government needs clarity on, it takes it to a referendum. And so the Swiss climate law was the subject of a referendum, and everyone said, we think we've gone far enough on cutting our emissions. We don't want to go any further. Thank you very much. And that is what prompted Greenpeace to go out, find some older women, and then launch this complaint to circumvent, literally circumvent democracy. The Swiss government, fortunately, and good for them, said, "Well, we're not having any of that," and they still. This was a year ago, and they still haven't implemented this what the European Court of Human Rights has dictated. And I think many people would like that approach here on pretty much everything that comes out of that court. So this relates to the new International Court of Justice in these very obvious ways. This is all about NGOs trying to stick one over on against democratically appointed governments.
There is a sense, I mean, the example you gave about the women trying to sue because the country had the audacity to experience summer. There's likely to be more of that then, isn't there, under this? Because you can just see some of those lawyers sharpening their quills, thinking, so we've now got a bit of, at least legal protection or camouflage over, as wacky and as batty as some of these ideas are, we can at least rest on the fact, look, these judges, these sort of United Nations appointed boffins have just decreed that there could be a legal case here, to almost bolster their credibility, even though it ultimately doesn't mean anything very much at all. It will be utilised in order to sort of inflame and increase these kind of lawsuits.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the dangers is, I mean, there might be some good reasons for international or intergovernmental agencies and courts to discuss really serious matters, not frivolous stuff like the Swiss case. But by allowing these sort of intergovernmental agencies to be colonized by green ideology, they've weakened the foundations of those institutions, because everyone listening to this would read the Swiss court's judgment and so on and go, this is absolutely ridiculous. This is going to be imposed on millions and millions of people. It's going to cost billions and trillions of pounds or whatever, and it's kind of frivolous and silly. So it's like the ECHR's judgments against the UK. It's created a massive groundswell of support in the UK for us to withdraw from that court, which may or may not have been created for good reasons.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is very dangerous. That the United Nations should allow itself and its agencies to be colonized in that way, and it's kind of regrettable, and I think it may lead to a worsening of relationships between countries, rather than, as the Greens think, this sort of consolidation of power and politics.
Indeed, and of course, ultimately, it can just be ignored, as we say. Maybe for the moment, you're absolutely right. Ben, great to have you on with us as always. Ben Pyle, writer, co-founder of Climate Debate UK.